for being here. I'd like the panel to come up and join me real quickly. I'll introduce everybody, and we'll get to the meat of it, which is what these Weiss folks have to offer in terms of B2C type business models in the recurring revenue sector. First, why don't we just go from Graham, since he's here on my immediate left. Graham is the COO of eSalon, and he will help us understand a little bit of that business model as we get going. And next to Graham should be John Tabis, the founder and CEO of thebooks.com. And then finally, Corey Weiss, who's head of business development for Ipsy. Each of these companies seem to have found a place in the beauty of the person and the beauty of nature sector, shall we say. I was trying to find the connection, so I thought that beauty has its benefits might be one of them. And what each of these companies has done is taken a service, as we will hear, that is typically one that you would have thought of brick and mortar, and found a way to not only make it attractive online, but to get subscribers and recurring business again and again from the clientele that might otherwise have traditionally gone to a beauty shop or gone to a store to look at makeup or the florist. So with that, let me sit down and then introduce first, let's talk about a couple of things here that we want to do. We want to talk and have each of the folks describe how their businesses evolved, in essence, what they do, what their pizzazz is, and how they've gotten here in about a minute and a half each. So why don't we start here?
Sure. Thank you, Larry. My name's Graham Jones. I'm the COO of eSalon. eSalon sells custom blended hair color direct to the consumer. We've used technology to help our clients find their perfect shade. We've blended about 120,000 different shades for our clients. The hair color market, you can buy hair color in two places. You can buy it through the drugstore or the grocery store in a box, and you can go to the salon. The box is cheap and convenient, but is very difficult to pick the right shade, only comes in 10 or 15 shades, and self-application can be very difficult at home. The salon solves for a lot of these problems, but cannot compete on price and convenience. eSalon fits right in between the two. Consumers visit our website, they answer a questionnaire, and we are able to pick the right shade, give them assistance. We have a colorist team of 35 colorists that review all the orders and offer help when clients are applying the hair color at home. Clients can try eSalon for $10, and it is a subscription. However, on their second order, it goes to $20. The real differentiation in our business is our ability to formulate to a specific color outcome through business rules on the back end and our team of colorists. So every new order that comes through, a colorist looks at to make sure that we can meet our clients' needs. If there's inconsistencies between the answers to the online questionnaire and the photo that the client uploads, we reach out to the client and there is an exchange. We are primarily servicing clients trying to cover their gray, so we fit very nicely into the subscription commerce economy, and we have about 165,000 subscribers.
Thank you. That's really helpful, Graham, and I'll make my order with my gray hair today. Why don't we, I'm the skip and go next to Corey Weiss from Ipsy, because I think that makes sense in the progression. We'll go to the beauty product and then to the bouquet.
So are you saying you're saving the best for last, John?
The reward.
My name is Corey Weiss. I head up business development for a company called Ipsy. Who out there has heard of Ipsy? That's good. I like that. I've got a prize here. Who knows who co-founded Ipsy? There in the front. Michelle. Kevin, of course, from Digital LA knew that. Michelle Fawn is the co-founder of Ipsy. I have a glam bag for you, and I'll tell you a little bit about a glam bag. And it's red, which is perfect because Kevin has branded himself red. Ipsy is the world's largest, most passionate beauty community in the world. It was co-founded by a woman named Michelle Phan, who's the #1 beauty blogger in the world with over 8 million subscribers on YouTube. Ipsy comes from the Latin word which means self, and our mission is to inspire women around the world to express their unique beauty. Our core business is the glam bag, which Kevin will be receiving. This is from the month of February. It's #IpsyPink. We have themed glam bags that have 5 full-size products from top beauty brands, from masstige to prestige, and we currently have over 1.5 million subscribers that pay $10 a month. We've also built a community of over 7 million people who've gone to Ipsy.com, opted in, taken a beauty quiz, and participate across our social channels, which allow us to customize and personalize the monthly glam bags, which is really, along with social media, has contributed to our success.
Okay. Just a quick question. I know that eSalon, for instance, encourages the subscribers to come and interact with colorists, for example. And in Ipsy, do you have that kind of online interaction with the makeup advisors and other folks who actually interact with your public? Or is it just more like films?
Yeah, so being that we were co-founded by Michelle Phan, the #1 beauty blogger, creators or social influencers are at the heart of our business. We work with over 3,000 influencers. So when subscribers receive their monthly glam bag with their products, they can go online and either visit their favorite stylist on Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, Facebook. They can really pick their channel and learn how to use those products they received each month.
Okay. So John, why don't you tell us about the Books?
Sure. John Tabis, founder and CEO of Books.com. It's like bouquet, but shortened. The idea behind the company was really to change the supply chain in flowers. Not a lot of folks understand sort of where flowers come from. There's 4 or 5 different steps to get them into the country, largely out of South America. They're held in different warehouses along the way. They end up at a local florist. There's a lot of sort of chatter in the world about shop local. There's literally no such thing as a local flower unless you live in San Francisco or Los Angeles. 90% of the flowers sold in the U.S. come out of South America for a wide variety of reasons. And so what we did was we eliminated a whole bunch of steps between the grower and the end consumer. So when you shop our site, you're actually looking at the inventory of a farm network that represents about 1.5 billion stems of production per year all around the world: Ecuador, Colombia, Costa Rica, here in the U.S., all across the country. The recurring revenue piece of our business is really twofold. The first is a little bit more sort of straightforward, which is subscriptions, and we have a couple different flavors, which I'll talk about later. The other is very much philosophical. So if you look at the way that the big players in this space operate, 1-800-Flowers, FTD, Teleflora, they view this as a transactional industry. I'm going to get the most out of you with this one transaction. I'm going to try to maximize my margin over marketing. We look at it completely differently, which is the lifetime of value of the customer and trying to build a long-term relationship in a category which is traditionally viewed as a commodity and therefore becomes very price-driven. And so it's really sort of at the foundation of what we do that sort of building those long-term relationships and therefore building recurring revenue is really important to what we do.
Okay, that's great. Why don't we talk a little bit about that topic of what you've learned from your recurring customers, what strategies and insights you've taken from what you've experienced so far, where you think you're going with that model. In other words, how do you get them? How do you get recurring customers without too much cost? How do you retain them effectively? What new strategies do you bring to the equation? So I'm going to ask Corey, Graham, and John to all comment on that, since this is an integral part of your businesses.
Sure. All right, so to quickly touch on, I guess, what we'll call customer acquisition and customer retention. As I mentioned, we work with influencers. So I don't know if any of you out there have bought a Buick because Peyton Manning is on the commercial, or own a Tag Heuer watch because Tiger Woods wears one, or at least the perception, most likely not. A lot of people are making decisions or influenced by what social influencers are recommending. So acquisition and awareness is primarily done online through these influencers, from them making recommendations about the products that you would receive in an Ipsy glam bag. In terms of retention, we do it by two ways. One is to surprise and delight our customers on a monthly basis by personalizing their bag and doing our best each month over month to make sure that we're delivering the products that are best suited for them. We retain them. In addition, when there's the demand to be an Ipsy subscriber is much greater than the supply. So we have, our churn rate is in the low single digits, and part of that is because there's a wait list, and it's not an artificial wait list. The wait list is there because we have to procure products to populate our bags, and it does take time to do so. So people know that once you get off that wait list and get your glam bag, that it might take some time to get back in if they decided to cancel. So our retention is extremely high. Also, for $10 a month, the average value of a bag is about $40. So if you don't like one or two of your products, you still get this great, cute little bag and some great products, and you're going to hang on.
Okay, John?
So we look at acquisition a little bit differently since we're not just a pure subscription model. So we sell sort of single order deliveries as well, hundreds of thousands of those a year, with the idea that we get you in, we hope to sort of make back the cost of acquisition on those individual sales and then convert a certain percentage of people into subscriptions. We have 3 different kinds of subscriptions. One is sort of a traditional one. If you just want fresh flowers around your house or your office, it's once a week, once every other week, once a month, whatever periodicity best applies. We have one called special occasions, which is you sort of pre-program all those important dates across the year that you tend to forget, and then you tend to be very last minute. You just tend to send the flowers, and they cost you $150. We just pre-program those for you. They just show up, and it's $30 a pop instead of that $150. And then the third one I invented for me. I told this story last year, but I'll tell it again because it tends to get a giggle. I was that husband who always wanted to be a very sort of romantic guy who would bring home flowers for my wife for no reason all the time. That's sort of the guy I viewed myself as. And in 7 years of marriage before I started the company, I had done it twice. And so I created this thing called Just Because, which is random surprise deliveries, but it's automated. So 7 times, see, I told you it gets a giggle. 7 times a year, my wife randomly gets flowers. We have an algorithm that avoids her birthday and our anniversary and the big holidays, and it always delivers on Tuesdays because that's the most random feeling day of the week. So those are our 3 different types of products. But the key thing for us is get you a good experience on a Mother's Day or for somebody's birthday or congratulations, introduce you to these other services which are much more convenient because you end up saving money and you don't have to worry about the event as it approaches.
Graham?
Yeah, so when I run the business, generally I'm focused on 2 things, acquisition and lifetime value. And the way we look at it, we spend about $25 to $30 on acquisition, and on the lifetime value side, we're trying to maximize the number of reorders we receive from an individual client blended across all of our traffic acquisition channels. So on average, we get 6 orders. We get the first order, and then we get 5 reorders, and that's blended across. We have lots of clients that have done 50 orders with eSalon, but then we have clients that bail from order 1 to 2. The reason I like subscription commerce is we have the ability to optimize on the back end, and generally the retention for us boils down to messaging, making sure that our clients understand what they need to do. And a lot of times you can get information back from the clients in terms of a survey or communicate with them, but very often it's just doing A/B tests and messaging what they need to do in a different way, and it can have a huge impact. I call it downstream, and it can give you an extra order. And then once you get an extra order and you increase your lifetime value, I can increase my acquisition costs and drive the business.
Can I help it on that really quick?
Surely.
I think what we mentioned about sort of messaging and education is super important for any recurring business, is sort of consistently reminding the customer about why this is a good idea and also educating them about the product. Obviously, you have to make sure people are happy with the way it looks. This is why you got this color, et cetera, et cetera. This is what's in your bag. These are the things that are relevant for you. For us, because we ship a farm direct product, people actually in the flower world think that a fully opened rose that looks perfect is a healthy rose. That is a dead rose. That is a rose that dies tomorrow, right? And so when you ship somebody a brand new rose that's just fresh from the farm, people go like, this looks horrible. And the answer is like, no, this looks new. This is going to last you 2 weeks instead of 2 days. But we don't, right now, I think we actually don't do a great job of explaining to people why that is and what that means. And so educating people around what is a good product and why it's important for you and why it's done differently than what you're used to. I think for any startup is not easy. For us, it's particularly hard because we have lots of different types of flowers that look different ways when they arrive and all that kind of stuff. But I think that messaging idea is one of the most important things in any recurring business, is continually reminding your client why this is recurring, why it helps their life. There's a wait list. You're going to get kicked off. You're never going to get back in. I love that, by the way. I'm going to create a wait list. So I think that messaging idea is really core.
Terrific. This leads me to ask the following. In terms of being startup businesses and evolving to established businesses with recurring clientele, what's your strategy for standing out? There's a lot of things you do. Obviously, you want to attract people by your track record, by your product, by satisfaction, word of mouth. But why don't you share with us the strategies that each of your companies used to try to sort of get your first initial exposure and how you built on that? Be it traditional publicity, appearing in the media. John, I understand you were on Shark Tank and the like. What strategies have you felt were really big bang for the buck, and maybe others that you would pass on next time?
Yeah, I'll take that. So on our side, we've built up an acquisition funnel. Last year, we spent about $8 million on acquisition, and what we wanted to do is start having a deeper relationship with our clients. We started offering video consultations this last year, and we've had the ability to make sure we have the color right with a colorist real time, and then we make sure that we explain to the client how to apply the color. And we're seeing 30 to 40% increase in lifetime value, which translates into higher retention rates, for the reason that we can make sure that we have the color right and that they're applying it right. We're going to take it a step further this next year and open our first store. And we've brought in around 500 clients over the last 12 months, and we've seen that the lifetime value of those clients is 2x what it is for virtual clients. So we're just trying to get closer to our subscribers is the strategy that's worked for us.
Yeah, I'll jump in here as well. So one, as I mentioned already, is leveraging social media. We believe at Ipsy that it's not the traditional ways that women learned about makeup before, where they'd read in magazines or they'd go to a makeup counter at a department store, but that women learn from other women and from other people that they trust. And I think that's true in all commerce these days. So that's part of the way that we stand out, is really being creator or influencer centric and leveraging social media. Personalization, taking all the data points that we have, because people are engaging across the various channels, our social media channels, and ensuring that we deliver the best experience possible has really driven our business. And then community. We have a community of over 7 million members that have gone to our website, they've taken a beauty quiz, they've opted in, and they participate across our various channels. So we know a lot about them, and we provide a very safe environment for them to share with like-minded individuals. So, and then of course, at the end of the day, for any of our businesses, is really delivering the best product possible month over month.
For us, so I think any consumer brand that wants to get traction has to have a really clear brand story, and whatever that brand story is, it can vary a lot. But that's sort of where we started. In the floral category, you have really big behemoths, north of $1 billion in revenues at 100 Flowers, FTD, but they aren't brands that stand for anything other than cheap flowers. So in that respect, it was actually kind of easy to stand out. We came along and we said, hey, we drop ship flowers from an active volcano for $40, and that's literally what we did. And people responded to that because it was different. We stand for a floral network that's sustainable and eco-friendly and has responsible labor practices in it, which nobody else even knows where their flowers come from. So we sort of hit on those points really early and just told that story via our site. And what was great about that was once you tell a compelling story, others want to tell it for you. And so we got a ton of just purely organic PR. We were in Daily Candy, and then we were in Oprah's favorite 50 things list. And then Shark Tank called, and 8 months later I was on Shark Tank. And these things didn't happen because we had a PR firm. We didn't have any PR firm working for us at the time. It's not because we knew anybody. We didn't know anybody in these places. It was because we told a really compelling brand story in a space that hadn't had the story told before. So I think for any consumer business, if you can boil down to that thing that makes you truly unique and truly different and why you matter in the world, folks will tell that story for you. I wish we had a Michelle to tell our story every day because she's obviously an amazing storyteller. If you don't have Michelle or somebody like Michelle, that can go a long way.
John, just a follow-up for you. Given the fact that you were putting yourself out there, your story was compelling, and you didn't have a PR team per se, what did you do, though, to help advance those opportunities?
Mostly I was willing to talk, but as you can tell by the panel, I'm willing to talk to anybody anytime, so I was happy to do it. But I made myself extremely available to anybody who wanted to engage in conversations about the brand or the category, and that has actually led to other relationships with press that have sort of stayed over time. So Laura Kolodny from the Wall Street Journal has covered us now 4 or 5 times, mostly because she now knows who I am and that I'm passionate about this category and that I have something to add. And so being very willing and at least having somebody in the organization who's very willing and comfortable with press, I think can help make those things, not only just amplified, but continue.
Terrific, thanks. So one topic that came up in the discussion was the concept of these new media enterprises looking to brick and mortar locations. And we heard, for example, that eSalon is going to have a location. I'd like to hear your thoughts about moving in that other direction. A few years ago, we heard all of that stuff was going to go away and never be relevant again. And now we're seeing a little bit of a trend where these companies in this space are looking for a physical, anchor, if you will, or a place to promote their goods or their services.
Yeah, we generate a lot of leads where clients don't completely fill out our hair color questionnaire. Something like 85% don't transact online. We will be able to drive those clients into our stores. So we're opening bricks and mortar in a very measured way. We believe that we can keep a store busy without any incremental marketing spend, just based on our online spend. So I think if you look back over the last 5 or 10 years, you had a lot of bricks and mortar guys that are trying to go online. We're doing the reverse. We've built up a nice acquisition funnel online. We're going to push those clients that are not comfortable with buying online. We want to push them into the store. We want to educate them. We want to showcase our product. We want to tell them about the product, and we want to tell them how to apply the product. And we've already done a beta in Culver City. And like I said, we're seeing twice the number of reorders of the clients that come through our website.
So we do not have a physical presence yet. I don't think it's something that we would rule out completely, but we're not quite there. And I think it's just sort of where we are in our journey as a brand. I do think that in e-commerce in general, unless you are sort of creating a brand new thing, right? Like I think Ipsy actually created sort of a brand new thing. You could walk into a store and get this amazing sampling of all these different things for $10, right? It just didn't exist before. But if you're a fashion company or a floral company or another sort of established category that has had a brick and mortar presence, you're starting to see it all over the place. Warby Parker has a store over on Abbott Kinney. Bonobos has guide shops. Trunk Club has fitting locations. And you're seeing this sort of hybrid model emerge, and at least my understanding in talking to folks that I know that are sort of tackling that area is at some point, again, unless it's magically new, you will run into a place where your cost of acquisition online through digital means sort of plateaus out sort of where lifetime value is. You can't sort of infinitely spend in every online marketing channel. At some point, it becomes less efficient. It's just math.
Is that true?
It is at some point.
We know.
I wish it wasn't. Yeah. And so at that point, you do the math on it. You start looking at your spend online. You start looking at the cost of operating a store, and you say, hey, look, this is another way to acquire a customer. It's another channel. It obviously has a lot of fixed costs involved in it, but everything I hear is similar, which is that once you get people in a physical retail environment, the lifetime value goes up significantly. So it seems like the future is really sort of a balance of online, offline, if you're in a category that is typically, a storefront.
For us, we don't have any immediate plans to go into the brick and mortar world. We've seen a competitor in our space do that, and it's questionable of how successful they've been at going that direction. I mean, the whole point is we are disruptive in our category, and our approach is sample, shop, share. So in this particular category where you can sample through your glam bag on a monthly basis and then have the opportunity to purchase full size, there is no need really to go into the brick and mortar space at this time.
Terrific. Well, that's been really helpful. I think that we've gotten a lot of understanding as to how your businesses have come up and what your strategies have been. We have a few minutes left, and I think it would be a great opportunity for any questions from the audience. Any ones out there?
So it sounds like all three brands are fairly mature, relatively mature to other brand startups. You guys can think back, what were your either marketing or acquisition or PR strategies for the channels and the lines of audience? Well, why don't you guys repeat the question?
I'm sorry. I'd like you to just give me the gist of it again.
I can jump on that one. Let me help you out here, Larry.
Okay, thank you.
I think the question was, we are mature businesses up here, and when we were starting out initially, what did we leverage in order to get that initial awareness and momentum? I mean, not to, to keep repeating myself, but again, social media is what we used. When you look at Michelle Phan, who is our co-founder, and look at her social following, you can take the top 10 beauty brands, and in the aggregate, they might have 1 million subscribers, whereas she has 8 million subscribers on her own. It's just really leveraging the awareness and exposure and reach that these influencers have. So that was our secret sauce out of the gates.
For us, we bootstrapped the company on 13 grand. That's how we got started. Where Peter, wherever he is, rejected me with my first pitch and said, "No, I'm not going to give you $25,000." Because I'll keep reminding you. But we were really focused on that brand story and getting that story out. We didn't spend any money on customer acquisition for at least a year. All of it was word of mouth. Social media was big. If you look at our Facebook following, we're at like 320,000 followers. We're now, I think, the third largest floral brand in the country at that. The big brands are just not great at social media in our space because no one really wants to share that product experience or that story. So that's a big piece for us. And then partnerships was really big for us early on too. So we just went around to other sort of like-minded brands, and we were the first floral gifter in Facebook Gifts, which is now gone, but for early stage, that was great. So leveraging other people's eyeballs without having to put forth the capital and sort of trading off margin was a big strategy for us.
On our side, my advice is to focus on customer acquisition. Try to identify who your core target audience is. For us, it's 35 plus women covering gray. And today, there's so many places to buy audiences. Like Facebook, you can create a very specific audience that you want to buy. But before you do that, you need to figure out what your lifetime value is. Try to only spend about a third of your lifetime value on acquisition and figure out how fast you can be paid back. That'll dictate how much you can spend. And go to new marketplaces. And when I say marketplaces, I mean where the audiences are moving to, because they're not crowded and you can compete in those places. Like Snapchat, for example, they don't have links on their app. There's no click-through, but as soon as there's click-throughs, you should go and try to buy that audience because nobody knows how to do it yet. That's the real opportunity.
Yes?
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about lifetime value, but how do you determine lifetime value? Do you discount the cash flow? Do you look at different cohorts to see the churn changes over time? Or is it a simple matter of get this payment by churn? What level of sophistication do you use in lifetime value?
Okay, so if you didn't hear that, this is a question about how do these folks look at and determine lifetime value in their business planning?
We just look at it over 3 years. We don't use a discount rate. We look at the reorder rates from order 1 to order 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and we look at it on a cohort basis, and then we just chop it off at 3 years and just assume that all the clients are gone, even though I can look back 5 years and see cohorts where still 10% are still on their subscription. But that's the way we do it.
Very similar. I think the hardest thing when you're really early stage is you don't have enough time to really have great data on it. This is one of the most frustrating things when you're like 1 year in, and what's lifetime value? What's your 3-year lifetime value? I've been around for 9 months, dude. I don't know. The end result is you have to make some assumptions. You have to sort of take your best guess, right? Here's the rate of purchasing. Here's the rate of churn. If I push that forward, X, Y, and Z. I think the hardest part is you're working on a whole bunch of things constantly to make it better. And so you're looking at historical cohorts that had a very different, experience than what recent ones have. 6 months ago, we didn't sell vases. We now sell vases. About 40% of our clients, take a vase on an order, which increases our AOV by $4. So if I go back to my oldest cohorts, they didn't have a chance to buy a vase. Do I now give them $4 per order? I would like to, but the data doesn't show it. So lifetime value is as much to me art as it is science, and I think it's one of the hardest things to sort of get right, especially in the very early stages. When you're 5, 6, 7 years in, and you have sort of all this historical data, I think it gets to be a lot easier, but very similar. Number of orders, take the margin on it, subtract out your CAC, and whatever's left over is the gravy.
Yeah, we similar.
Yes, yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Alan. I want to direct my question to John Tabis. Because you don't inventory your product and you're dealing with offshore vendors, can you talk a little bit about how you're managing the vendor relationships and logistics, and you use Federal Express? How do you ship the product domestically from offshore?
Sure. So I'm just going to help to the extent the audience didn't hear. It's really, the question is, how do you manage offshore vendor relationships? Because this business doesn't keep a set inventory. And so obviously getting responsive, quick stock is important. So John?
Yeah, so we're an inventory-less business. We hold tiny bits of inventory here and there across the year, but generally everything's on demand, and it's one of the reasons I love the business. It's also one of the reasons I love recurring, especially prepaid recurring. So we'll offer you a subscription for X dollars a delivery, and then we'll give you an additional discount to pay up front. And so we'll actually get your capital in, and we won't be delivering your last delivery for a year, and then we don't actually pay the farm until 60 days after that. So we're getting, a 14-month float, essentially, on a chunk of your payment. So negative cost of working capital is the most amazing thing in the world. So the international sort of network is managed by my co-founder. You had Michelle. I have Juan Pablo Montúfar Arroyo, who is my college roommate and also the guitarist in my college band. And JP, as we call him, manages all of those relationships directly around the world. And so he's from Quito, Ecuador. He grew up on a rose farm. He is a farmer. And he manages those relationships sort of on the ground. And then we have similar people here in the U.S. I was just yesterday in a tulip farm in Oregon visiting with a new vendor of ours. And so we have a team that manages that here, sort of feet on the ground, day-to-day interactions. The way that we get the flowers from South America to the U.S. to the consumer, from Miami, they come in through customs, and that is all FedEx or UPS, depending. The way that we get them from that farm to Miami is a secret that I will never tell. That's how we create value in the world, is by sort of the way that we can purchase on-demand inventory and get it there efficiently.
Peter, before you take the hook and take us
Not,
out.
I'm gonna go ahead.
Okay, Graham had one other point.
I just want to make one more point. In terms of why there are so many subscription commerce companies, I mean, we've identified acquisition, we've identified the direct-to-consumer experience, but I think we'd be remiss not to talk about old and antiquated distribution channels. In hair color, they distribute through drugstores and grocery stores. There has not been any innovation in any of those places. We can look at razors, no innovation, ripping off clients, overcharging. I don't want to sound like an economist, but I would argue that subscription commerce is markets becoming more efficient and innovators and entrepreneurs being able to go direct to consumer and offering consumers more value.
We have time for one more question, and Bruce is pointing to this lady here. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
The question's for Corey. If you don't have an influencer or co-founder, how do you recommend going out to outreach to other influencers?
Okay, so quickly, if you don't have an influencer as a co-founder, how do you go out and make a splash initially?
Yeah, so that's a little bit, it depends on the category that you're in, and it's a little bit art and science. So the science part is their metrics are visible, so you look for one that looks to have a base and a circle of influence, and hopefully has momentum that continues to grow and will continue to be a top influencer. So that's the science part. And then, I think you just got to go after these people, find them early, and give them a reason to be involved. I mean, Michelle had a lot of skin in the game and a lot of invested interest for the success of Ipsy. But I think that in the influencer space, a lot of them want to be involved. They want to have invested interest, and I think it's just going out to a handful of them and using your gut on the art side of it. Is this someone that has business sensibility and wants to participate. So.
Okay, with that, I'd like to very much thank Graham, John, and Corey for a really delightful and interesting session. Thank you.
Thank you.